Okay, so Buddha is one of my favorite subjects. Okay, why? Because of course, again, in one of my past life regressions, I saw that I was a monk and very close to him, and I had a couple of other lives as a Buddhist monk, a preacher, and things like that. So, although uh, way back when I was in the university, so I always wanted to know more about Buddhism and all that, but I never ever got a chance. I never ever got a chance to read about it, to read about Buddha or Buddhism or anything else like that. But yes, for my work concern, I used to meet a lot of masters who have taught Dalai Lama, but meet them only as a way of blessing. No, I had a travel agency, so they used to get the ticketing done through us. So my only condition used to be, okay, I'll go and deliver them the tickets. So just meeting them and just being blessed, that was the only touch I had with them. But yes, during my regression and everything, yes, I got very close to Buddhism and I got a uh, lot of insights about Buddha. So although Buddha is a very very vast subject, but there are a few of my favorite points, so we'll discuss uh, those 2 points. Wait 1 second, more people are joining in. Okay. So first of all, um, Buddha, before attaining his enlightenment, okay, he also revisited, or during his meditations, he also saw that he was born more than 635 times. He had to take rebirths to attain his enlightenment. Okay, 635 lives Buddha witnessed during his process. Right? I hope the sound is clear, no, for everyone. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So Buddha saw his 635 lives. Another very good thing what Buddha had was when he stepped out of his palace in search of being enlightened, or the ultimate truth, as we call it in Buddhism. He went through the whole process, the whole religious process and the rituals and everything. And it was he was also one of the very strong and very powerful sadhanas, which is considered in Hinduism and is one of the most highest form of sadhanas, is Srividya sadhana. So Buddha was also a very big Srividya sadhak. He had taken the diksha of Srividya. Okay, and he had all these things, and still imagine he couldn't attain enlightenment. The enlightenment came by the simple way of breath work. Okay, what Buddha taught us, Annapanna Sati. So his enlightenment only came through Annapanna Sati. How simple is that? And how wonderful is that? It's an amazing process. And like I told you in the chakra talk, that because our vital force energy is connected with our breath, so that is why it is very important to see, witness, and feel how we breathe. Conscious breathing is very important. And that is what conscious breathing brought Buddha to his enlightenment. Now, there is one more incident very close to my heart, which I would like to talk about is, uh, we all know that Buddha, after searching for the truth and searching, and he sat down the tree, okay, the Bodhi tree, where he got enlightened. But very few know that he was not eating, he was not drinking anything, and he was on the point of dying. Okay, he was on the point of losing his body when a lady came and helped him eat rice She said, you need to eat rice because otherwise you need to eat some food. And rice was the only food she had. She was not a very rich woman. So she gave it to as an offering to Buddha. Buddha ate that. And after that, when he sat, okay, with his stomach full, and he sat and he started breathing, that is the point when he got his enlightenment. Okay. In today's world, or in our soul contracts also, this is what is written everywhere. When we completely lose hope, when we completely are disheartened, when we are completely pushed into a corner, then is where the big change in our lives come. Okay. One more very important thing this incident tells us, and which Buddha always kept in mind, is taking good care of his body. Okay. Because without this body being healthy, and if I don't take care of this body, I cannot reach anywhere, whether it's being enlightened, whether it's becoming a millionaire, whether it's becoming a good father, a husband, a wife, whatever. So the first thing is I need to take care of myself. One of the most important teachings of Buddha, which we always miss. Okay, we only say that Buddha, okay, he says give up everything, make monks, shave your head. Why did he make his disciples shave their head and go on for asking? This I have experienced when I started my journey into meditation and in spirituality. I didn't know whether it's spirituality or religion or whatever. I just started my journey. I just jumped into the sea and I learned whatever I had to learn. Things opened for me. What we basically do is, why did Buddha shave their heads and told them, okay, go and ask for food, go and ask for bhiksha? Because one of the most important things in this life for us to learn is how to ask. We have forgotten to ask. We ask with limitations. If I have a package of 100,000 rupees, okay, in a month, I say, what you want? No, I want a promotion. I want to make 150,000. Okay. I want a new car. Which car you want? Okay, I've got Maruti Zen. I want Maruti dash dash dash. How many of us say, no, I want a Mercedes straight away? Or how many of us say, no, I'm living in an apartment. I want to own the whole building now. So we are always limiting ourselves. Why are we limiting ourselves? Because we are scared. We are scared. We do not see that the universe has so many possibilities. That is why he used to tell his disciples not to be scared. Go and learn how to ask. If I start asking, I get a confidence that whatever I ask is going to come to me. Whether it's food, shelter, respect, money, luxury, whatever I ask, I need to learn how to ask and need to work towards it. Okay, so that is the reason why he first used to tell them the first basic lesson: you need to learn to ask what you want in life. All right. So Buddha taught us, besides the basic meditation of Anapanasati, the most important lesson he taught us was self-love. Self-love is you need to take care of yourself first. Then we talk about being enlightened and everything. Okay. And there was one more very famous incident of Buddha and his cousin when Buddha was on his deathbed, and his cousin, who used to take care of Buddha throughout, he started crying. So Buddha is asking him, why are you crying? So he says to Buddha that you are going and you are enlightened and everything, and I spent so much time doing your seva, taking care of you and everything. So what about my enlightenment? So Buddha says, sorry, I can't help you with that. You have to work towards your own enlightenment. I cannot help you get enlightened. In today's world also, when we find a guru, okay, we depend 100% on our guru. No, we are like the extra baggage on his shoulder, that now I've got the guru, now I'll touch his feet, he will bless me, he'll keep his hand on my head, and I will be enlightened, and I will, all my problems will disappear. That doesn't happen, my friend. My guru, my master, is only to show me the way. He is only going to guide me. Okay, I have to decide about my journey, right? If we think what we do is exactly like our 5-year-old or 10-year-old in the house, when we see a movie of James Bond and we think, yeah, I will also be like James Bond. No, no, I also want to be like that. I will also take my plastic gun and start acting like that. That doesn't happen. These stories about all the masters, all the books we read about all the masters, all the speakers, all the people nowadays, who help us out, and these are just their experiences of how they could achieve the breakthrough. These are just inspirational stories. We have to choose our own path. We have to decide our own path. They just show us that it is possible. Buddha just showed us, if I, being a prince of a very tiny kingdom, now this is very ironical. We say Buddha left his throne and decided to the path of meditation, path of enlightenment. Okay, we understand that Buddha said no to his kingdom. He could have been king and he could have led a very good life. No, and we said no, he sacrificed all that to be an enlightened monk, no, enlightened monk. Now let me tell you one thing, okay, because there's I don't know if some of you know or not, but I'm writing a book on Buddha, which will be out, I don't know, very soon, but okay. So Buddha had a his father had a small, he was a king in a small kingdom, very small kingdom. And Buddha was a very ambitious man. Okay, being a king comes with a lot of headaches. Yes, we all know that. So what Buddha decided, he decided, let me tread on a path where I become the king of meditation. Not just in India, anywhere around in the world you go, meditations are symbolized with Buddha. There will be a photo of Buddha. If you see photo of Buddha, yes, it is about meditation. So he became the king of meditation. He left the seat as a king of a small state where he would have been born and died. No one would have even remembered him until after so many centuries, after so many decades, we still remember Buddha, because he conquered the world with his meditation. He showed the world how easy it is. And there he became the king of meditation. That is what he is. And he had only one thing in sight, is, I want to know the ultimate truth. So his dedication was so much. Okay. He didn't run away from anything. His dedication was so much that this is what I want to create, and this is what I want to see, and this is what I want to look in life, and this is what he did. No matter how many hardships he had to face, it was not easy for Buddha to attain enlightenment. It was not easy, and not many of, I don't know if it is documented or also or not, but Buddha did accompany his father. He did accompany his father in a few wars. He was there in a few wars. and he saw what is fighting, first-hand experience he had, how to kill people and how to get wounded. He experienced everything of that. And there is when he decided that, this is not my path, this is not what I want, this is not what I want for my son. I want something more bigger. That is the reason why he stepped out of his house and he discovered or rediscovered meditation in a very simple form, which anybody and everybody could follow. So when Buddha left his home, he gave up the 4 most precious things in his life. Okay, he had to disconnect from them. Okay, so that he could create a better future for his son himself. Like every father, that was one of the things he left his house for. He did not abandon Rahula, but he says Rahula deserves a better future than just being a king from a small kingdom and fighting and trying to save his life and everything. Because you guys have to remember one thing, in those days, if I am a king, and in today's days also, if I'm a prime minister of some place, there is always somebody who's trying to bring me down from my throne. Okay, I have a lot of fear for my life, not only in the battleground but at home also. And that is what his father used to be facing. He did not want that kind of a life for anybody in his family. That was again one more reason why Buddha stepped out into the world of meditation. So Buddha used to, first he taught us was self-love. You have to love yourself. You have to nourish yourself. You have to take care of your body. Okay, then he taught us how to ask and what not all to ask. Don't have limitations on your asking. Don't have limitations on learning. Okay, don't have limitations on learning. Don't judge people around you. Don't judge anybody. Okay, he did not judge Ungalimal when he saw him in the jungle. When he did not judge, Ungalimal could sense his love, his aura of love, and he gave in to Buddha. He did not judge Ashoka, and because he did not judge Ashoka, because what happens is you see an emperor who's so fierceless, who has killed so many people. If you go in front of him, people get nervous. He had nothing to lose. He was so calm and everything. He was so calm and quiet and so full of confidence that Ashoka asked him, "What is your secret of how come you are like this in front of me?" And he says, "This is because of what I do." And thus Ashoka converted into Buddhism. And not only converted into Buddhism, carried out Buddhism as a religion all over. Okay. So it was his sense of being which used to touch a lot of people. Okay, I don't know. Some people are Lotus Sutras, Talata. Okay, I don't know. Somebody sent me a message of a lot of things. Okay. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, so first, self-love. I need to take care of myself. Second thing, I need to learn how to ask. In this life, I need to learn how to ask. Okay, so I have to cut off all the limitations and learn how to ask. Be that monk inside who has nothing to lose, and who can create from the universe. Okay, and the only ritual I can be true to is my breath. And you know why? Because that is one moment when I close my eyes and I'm with myself, I know what I did right, what I did wrong. Okay, when I close my eyes and when I'm with myself, I know what I did wrong and what I did right. That is the purity. Okay, before judging others, I judge myself. Okay, that is the true form of meditation. That is the true form of breath work, to be with myself and nothing else. And ask with your open heart, and the universe will give you everything you want in life. Buddha became, in this whole process, he became the king which till today he is there. The whole world has become his empire. Okay, and he has not lifted a single sword. He's not lifted a single sword, and he's got respect of everyone. Okay, if Buddha in those days, if he could patent just his name and his photo, imagine he would have been the richest man world's richest man. Everybody who's got a t-shirt of Buddha got a photo of his house. Everybody, even if they pay in cents. Okay, or how many times you search Buddha on the YouTube, so imagine how much money he would have got. So he did not lose, he opted to walk out from being a king of a small place to becoming the emperor of the whole world till date. Everybody knows him, everybody respects him, everybody loves him. There is no religion which will not accept Buddha. There is no religion which will not accept Buddha. If you put Buddha anywhere, they will say, yeah, okay, he's a peace loving man, he's a god of peace, he's a god of this, he's a god of meditations. Yes, most welcome here. Okay, so think like a Buddha, do like a Buddha, be a Buddha. Buddha was incarnated, reincarnated lot of times after leaving his body as Siddhartha. Okay, and in some of the stories, it also says that there was not just one Buddha walking earth during those days. There were a lot of Buddhas. Buddha, because it's called, the enlightened being was known as Buddha. Okay, so be that enlightened being. Be that enlightened being. You don't have to wait. Oh, I don't know when I will sit around the tree and get enlightened. No, he did that. Buddha sat down, did his breath work. He did not get enlightened. When he ate, when he was very calm, he got enlightenment. What does that mean? Because that time, the only craving his body was asking for, the only craving his body was asking for, what was that? Not to be enlightened that time. He said, just eat something, my friend, so I can survive. So he was happy with those few bites of rice which he got. Once he was his body was happy and satisfied, and he sat down quietly, he got enlightened. And he could not transfer that enlightenment to anyone else. So when we have masters, when we go to follow other people, they cannot help us in our enlightenment. They can only show us the way. We have to pass by that. We have to do our own journey. Okay, and don't be that small kid taking up a plastic gun and thinking that you have become a James Bond. You have to actually tread that path. Okay, and this actually happened to me. I used to go for some shivers, and I saw him once, and I said, "This is what I want to be. This is what is my ambition. I want to be like him, and this is what I'll work towards it." But it used to not come out from me. It used to not. Poof, there was something missing. There was something missing. What I was learning was too complicated, and I was not happy in transmitting that to other people. What I was learning was very complicated. So I thought, this is not me. I need something. If I'm teaching or if I'm showing a path to some people, so it should be in today's date, and it should be without any complications. Okay, it should not be that they have to shave their head and go and ask to learn their lessons. Okay, and it started happening because what happens is, as the vibration of the Mother Earth is rising, it is more easier for us to reach our goals, to attain high levels of spirituality, to get enlightenment. All these things are more easier for us. We don't have to go to a jungle or sit down under a tree or sit down in a cave or go to the weirdest of the climates, कोई बर्फ के पहाड़ पे बैठ के, we don't have to meditate to get enlightenment or anything. You can just do from where you are. This also I was taught, because I said, oh, I travel quite a bit, and so how will I come out of my meditation room, and if I do meditation in some other place, then what will happen? So I was told one thing. I was given one very nice dialogue. जहां सिद्ध बैठ गया वहीं उसकी साधना शुरू हो जाती है. Okay, so wherever you sit, in whichever manner you sit, and wherever you want to connect, you can get connected, because it is your energy within you. You're not sucking somebody else's energy. You're not taking it from anybody else. It is your own energy which is answering to you. You just need to learn to hear and talk about it. Okay, it is not somebody else's energy. I can make you feel that energy only once. No, but I cannot give it to you and say, okay, now you take it home. I will get more. Okay, it is like that dead car battery which I connect with the other car battery, so it gets started, but then it has to work on its own. That's the only way it can be transmuted. That's it. So people who used to sit around Buddha, they used to start feeling his energy. They used to start feeling, oh, so calm and everything, but only as a charge that, okay, yes, you can also start doing it. You can also start practicing it. Okay, and then yes, when more masters did more research on Buddhism, they got, what happens is, everybody has their perspective about things. Okay, like, this is what is my perspective about Buddha. Now I will write a book tomorrow. Some people will read, they will say, oh yeah, this is what we like about it. Some people will say, we don't like this. Okay, so same manner in Buddhism also, after that, lot of masters came and they spoke a lot of other things. And because they were masters, it got connected to Buddhism, and there are some very funny rituals and some very good rituals in Buddhism also. Okay, so that is how things, everybody interprets in their own manner. I was once asked by one of my aunts when I was very young. I must have been 10, 12 years old. So she said, why don't you read Bhagavad Gita? So I said, which one you want me to read? So he says, oh, there's one which is written by even Mahatma Gandhi. There's one written by Prabhupada. There's one written by Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and a lot of books. She was crazy about Lord Krishna. So she says, read anyone, but you should start reading. No, you will enjoy it and everything. So I picked up one and I started reading, but I came back to my aunt and I said, but this is this man saying the story. She said, yes. So no, but there must be another man saying in a different way. So she said, yes. So I said, how will I know the real story behind it? How will I know the real story? He says that is what you have to decide and see, which is the real one which you get connected to. So same for Buddhism. We hear a lot of stories, we hear a lot of ways what Buddha is, but what we learn from it is the simplicity of the whole thing. Buddha made it in those times. In those days, he made it as simple as just watching your breath. Just watching your breath. Don't do anything else. Everything is within you. And that is what only we forget. No? Because I get this question a lot of times, and I don't know if I've repeated, I'm going to repeat this if I've said in other chats, is that, oh, meditation time, what we should do, what we should be, what thing we should do, where should we concentrate, what are we going to do? And I said, meditation is just about doing nothing. You don't need to do anything when you are meditating. Buddha was so tired, he couldn't do anything, he couldn't think anything. He couldn't find one spot where he could put his concentration. He was so tired, he was almost going to die. Again, listen to it. He was almost going to die when he had that few bites of rice. So some energy was there inside him, okay, to save him from dying. And he could not think, could not move anything. The only concentration which came was on his breath. Okay. Before that, Buddha was trying to do a lot of things. Before that, Buddha had the strength. So when he walked off from his house, he tried doing all the rituals, the jap, the mantra, the havan, Srividya, and I have to breathe like this, I have to breathe like that, I have to concentrate here, I have to block my thoughts, I have to stop them from coming in, I have to concentrate on one spot, I have to concentrate on the bindu of the Meheru Yantra. A lot of things he was doing, because we are trained like that. We are trained to just do something. If I'm born here, I have to do something. Okay. If I'm born here, I have just to do something. How many times, tell me, you have felt good when you're just with your friend, your wife, or your husband, or whatever, just doing nothing? You guys are just sitting, not even talking, just doing nothing, just looking at to sea, mountain, sky, whatever, and you feel, oh, I'm so feeling so nice, so relaxed and everything. What are you doing that time? Nothing you're doing. So this is what meditation is. When you're doing nothing, you're just being with yourself. Give some time to yourself. That is what he told you. Give some time to yourself. Don't reach that space where you're dying of hunger, okay, or you're pushed to that level. Okay, just learn to let go. Just be with yourself. We are very interesting beings. Just be with ourselves will help a lot of things in our life. That is the real meditation. All my life, I'm not here to be somebody's husband, somebody's son, or trying to play somebody's brother or somebody's sister. I'm just doing this from outside. When I want to get inside, maybe thoughts come, it's okay. No, thoughts coming is okay. I cannot block my head from doing its job. When I'm meditating, my stomach is still digesting food. Yes or no? Okay. I cannot block that. No. I cannot tell my stomach, oh, I stop digesting so I can meditate. It doesn't happen. And one more thing in life, okay, the more you resist, the more tired you get. That is why a lot of times people say, I try to meditate, but it doesn't happen. Or I try to meditate, a lot of vibrations happen. Lot of vibrations, why does it happen? Because when the energy is trying to work on you and we are trying to resist it, then the energy is going to win. It will make you vibrate like crazy. Till the time I don't give in and I say, okay, you take over, I am relaxing. Then my vibrations will go down and I will be in a blissful state. Okay. So once you are at that level where you don't need to do anything, just let yourself breathe up and down. That's it. What is the point of Anapanasati? When I breathe and when I let it go, that small microsecond of a gap of the pause is what makes me go higher. That you can say it, you can, in a simple words, is the thing in the the point in between life and death. That is what is called. Because when I'm breathing, I'm breathing in all the oxygen, then I'm killing it and I'm throwing it out as carbon dioxide. Yes, everything is so scientific and so simple. So that microsecond where my breath converts or stops and I breathe out, the circle stops and I breathe out. That is the point. Once we reach that, but don't try and do it. It will just happen to you, not naturally. It just happened to you. You didn't, we were not born and we started running. No, we took baby steps. But when we get into spirituality, we go to a master who's meditated for 15 years, 16 years, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know how many years. And we say, yes, we want to be like you. You'll not get it. You have to start taking baby steps, start having your own experiences. Okay, what he went through was according to his spiritual and soul contract. No, that is why he's there. No, so it's like that. You have to be simple in what you do. Let yourself go inside. When you go inside, you will reach that enlightenment. And there is nothing complicated about it. Nothing at all complicated about it. Buddha made it so simple for us. Learn to ask what you want, work towards it, and don't complicate. Just breathe. Everything is within you. You are the most powerful being. You are the most powerful being. Okay? And you can turn your life from being the king of your house, the king of your society or your company. You can be the emperor. So do something like that. Do substantial something like that. What Buddha did, he just discovered himself. Yes? He just discovered himself. That is all he did. Okay? He just discovered himself. We see in the photos that Buddha behind, no, they put a halo, like, okay, yes, he's enlightened and this and that. Nothing of that sort happened. No, nothing of that sort happened. He was a healthy human being just walking around. इसको कोई ऐसा कोई पीछे चंद्रमा नहीं आ गया था. Okay, nothing of that happens when you are enlightened. When you are enlightened, you're just happy being you. You stop faking. A lot of people of you must be following Nityanand Baba, or they must have, because a lot of whoever goes into spirituality comes across Nityanand Baba. No, from near Bombay. How was he dressed? How was he? We've seen his photos. No, even his shishyas, his followers who carry on, none of them dresses up like him. No, they all dress up more with more clothes. Used to be in his own langot, that's it, whole day sitting there. Come, whoever wants to come, come. Who doesn't want to come, don't come. I am like this. Okay. So very good quote I'm going to do is, yes, we all want to be that. Oh, because you say, I am that. So we all want to be that. But when I accept that I am this, I will become that easily. That is what Nityanand Baba did. He said, I am this. People accepted him the way he was, and he became that. And people till today remember him. No? So fall in love with yourself, be yourself. Okay, because we try to be what the world wants us to be. Okay, again, Buddha's father wanted him to be the emperor. Buddha's wife also wanted him to be the king. No? Okay, again, today if you tell your father that I don't want to be the king, your wife will be the first one to tell you, okay, I'm going to leave you now because I married you because you were a prince. But he decided, no, I want to be myself. Okay, I want to be myself. We say we blame Buddha a lot. How could a father leave his son Rahula, who was 6 months small baby? It was not easy for him. It was difficult for him also. It was difficult for him also. Okay, but we were looking at the picture from outside, we are looking at it from outside. Oh, he was born a prince, he had such a luxurious life, his son could also be the king. But he knew how many thorns were there in his being the king, in the seat of the king. No, he didn't wanted his son to suffer like that. He couldn't make his father understand his point of view until unless he attained enlightenment. When he attained enlightenment and he came back, his father also became a disciple of Buddha. The wife also and the son also followed. Okay, we know Rahula is the son of Buddha. Now what grade did he do? His son was, but he lived a fulfilled life, no? At least because of that father who created Buddhism and who was the founder of meditation. I call him the founder of meditation because that is the first step when you are in India or when you're abroad. The first thing, meditations are connected to Buddha. Okay, so at least we remember him as a son of Buddha, the great Buddha. Otherwise, maybe we wouldn't have come to know about Rahula. There were so many kings in that era, so many princes in that era who were born and who passed away. Nobody remembers them. We only remember about Buddha. Why? And something very surprising that anywhere you search, anywhere you look, there is not even a certain time, like they can tell you exactly Buddha was born this time and died this time. There is no record. There is no such record. Okay, but still, he showed us something which we follow blindly. He showed us the meditation which we still do. So imagine, he made it so simple for us and he showed us everything is within me, everything is within you. So practice that. Fall in love with yourself. Treat yourself nice. Okay, learn to ask. Don't have limitations. This Buddhism, what we see the monks with their maroon clothes, and they say, oh, they live so simply, they live so nicely. No. So I met one of the gurus of Dalai Lama. Okay, and they are called Rinpoches. No, they are referred to as Rinpoche. Just hum log we call them Swamiji or Avdut or whatever. They are called Rinpoche. So I went to meet him, and he was sitting on a large double bed, again covered with a maroon, nice bed sheet, and he was sitting in the center. His disciple who introduced me to him, he was like, he was not even looking at him. He was on his 4 knees down, and just telling him that this is Vinny, he's come to deliver your tickets. So I said, I wanted to meet you, take your blessings, and this is your tickets. So he took it. And his hand, he was doing the jap, he was doing the mala, was made up of gold beads. Made up of gold beads. He was traveling first class not business, not economy. He was traveling first class. He was going to America. Okay, so we were very close to their disciples. No, the guys who historians. They says he's a monk and all that, and he's going first class. He should go economy class. No, those days you are like that. So I asked him the question. So he says, see, he doesn't pay for his tickets. He was Richard Gere's guru. He was connected to Richard Gere, the very famous Hollywood actor. So he says they pay for him. They say he's like my father, my gurus. He's like my father. So when I'm calling him to my place, I pay for it, everything. So and he said, so they accept it. This is luxury of life. How they accept it? He says no. They never said we don't want luxury of life. They never say no to anything. He said we are not taught to say no to anything. Okay, but we are only taught that nothing belongs to me. We are not taught about ownership. We are not taught about owning things. When you own things, then you have attachments to it. Yes or no? When I don't own anything, it does not mean that I cannot accept anything. Okay, and remember those famous lines which we must have read or seen or in movies or the monks used to say, only go and say Bhikshan Dehi. Bhikshan Dehi means give me something. Okay, they used to not ask for food. They used to say Bhikshan Dehi, give whatever you want. Okay, give whatever you want, whatever you can, you give. That's it. And what we do, we put limitations on ourselves. We have not even asked to learn. So Buddha said, now I'll have to shave their heads and make them go out and now learn to ask first. Learn to ask first. Let them have their own experiences. Okay, what we do is in today's date also, and I've been through this process also, even when we go for spiritual knowledge, okay, and the master gives us the knowledge, then we want to know, master, where does he live? Master, what does he do? What does master's wife do? What does she wear? Why does the master wear this watch? What is his lifestyle? Which car he drives? No, we are not concerned about the knowledge. We are concerned about who's giving it to us. No. So we start doing that. We don't go about the knowledge. We go about no. What is this person doing? No, no, no. You should take the knowledge, which is more valuable than the lifestyle of the person. Take the knowledge, accept it, grow from there, get your own experiences. Okay. People who are married here, don't leave your wife and children. So no, I'll also go become Buddha. And that he didn't say. Okay. He said, I have found out a way. I had to tread the harder way, but I have made it more simpler for you. You don't need to go and do all this and sit under a tree and wait for dying. Maybe somebody doesn't come and offer you rice. What will happen? You will die there only. Okay. So don't do that. Learn what he taught you. Learn what he said. Do Annapanna Sati. Vita, do breathing. Keep conscious breathing. Get inside yourself. What is conscious breathing? Conscious breathing is just, I am consciously aware of myself. Don't fight your thoughts. Never ever he says, stop, block your mind. Okay. So we'll end up with the teachings. Love yourself. Breathe consciously. Live a conscious life. And don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to ask. Okay. Do the Bhikshandehi. I want this. And you will get it. Okay. And learn the simpler things in life. Learn to breathe consciously. Be with yourself. spend time with yourself. Okay, in my whole lifetime, if I just know myself, I will be another Buddha. If I can only know myself, I will be another Buddha. So do that. Okay, live consciously and breathe consciously, and let us all become another Buddha. Okay, so thank you all for coming here. I hope you all enjoyed the chat, and maybe we'll see next time. We'll meet up next week, and maybe adjust the timing a bit better for people there in India. Okay, take care, everyone. God bless. Whatever comments and questions you have, you can leave it on the Cypher Soul chat. Okay. Thank you very much. And if some people were asking me if I do consultations, private consultations, yes, I do private consultations. So